Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're re-diving into something really important that could affect millions of people in Germany, starting in January 2026. We're re-talking about the Aktivrente, which allows working retirees to earn up to €2,000 per month, completely tax-free. This is a major development, and if you're approaching retirement age or know someone who is, you definitely want to stick around for this entire video because we break down everything you need to know. The Aktivrente enables retirees to earn up to €2,000 monthly without paying taxes on that income, which amounts to €24,000 annually tax-free. Now, that's a significant amount of money, and when you combine this with the standard tax-free allowance, the benefits become even more substantial. But before we get into all the details, let me tell you why this matters so much and who will actually benefit from it. The German government, specifically the coalition between the SPD and Union parties, developed this concept to address two major challenges facing the country right now. First, there's a massive shortage of skilled workers across various industries. Second, the pension system is under increasing pressure as more people retire and fewer workers contribute to the system. According to federal statistics, approximately 13.9 million workers will reach the statutory retirement age over the next 15 years, representing nearly one-third of all workers available in the labor market in 2024. So, the idea behind the Aktivrente is pretty straightforward. Create financial incentives that make it attractive for people to continue working after they reach the official retirement age. Instead of forcing people to retire or raising the retirement age, which would be politically very unpopular, the government is taking a different approach by saying that, hey, if you want to keep working, we'll make it worth your while by letting you keep more of what you earn. Now, let's talk about who exactly qualifies for this Aktivrente. You must have reached the statutory retirement age, which means completing your 67th year of age, and you must be in employment subject to social insurance contributions. This is really important because not everyone who works past retirement age will benefit from this program. Here's where it gets a bit tricky and where some people might be disappointed. The Aktivrente only applies to employees, not to self-employed individuals who want to continue working past the retirement age. So if you're a freelancer, a business owner, or work in agriculture or forestry as a self-employed person, unfortunately, this tax benefit doesn't apply to you. Civil servants who continue working past retirement age also don't benefit from the Aktivrente, and mini-jobs are excluded as well. This limitation has actually sparked quite a bit of controversy to legal experts and constitutional lawyers. See potential problems because only employees from the regular retirement age benefit, while self-employed individuals don't, which could violate the principle of equal treatment under Article 3 of the Basic Law. There's even talk of potential lawsuits at the Federal Constitutional Court, so this aspect might still change in the future. Another important point is timing. The Aktivrente only applies from the statutory retirement age, not for early retirement. So if you decide to take early retirement at 63 or 64 and continue working, you won't get this tax benefit. You have to wait until you reach the full retirement age of 67. This is significant because, on average, most people retire at 64 years old, meaning the Aktivrente doesn't reach almost half of retirees. Now let's get into the financial details because this is where things get really interesting. With the Aktivrente, you can earn up to €2,000 per month tax-free. But here's the crucial part. The €2,000 limit applies strictly per month. The allowances cannot be transferred retroactively to the year, nor can they be offset between individual months or between wages and pensions. What this means in practice is if you start working in July, you only get the bonus from July onwards. Any unused allowances from previous months are lost. Let's look at a concrete example to make this clearer. A single retiree with €1,400 monthly pension and €2,000 additional income would normally pay around €5,263 in taxes annually to the tax office. But with the Aktivrente, this burden drops to approximately zero. That's a massive saving, and it really shows how powerful this benefit can be for people who choose to continue working. But what if you earn more than €2,000 per month? Well, if you earn more than €2,000 additionally, you must pay taxes on the amount above that at your normal personal tax rate. So the first €2,000 are completely tax-free, but anything above that gets taxed normally. And here's something important to note. If you earn less than €2,000 additionally, offsetting with pension income is excluded. For example, if someone only earns €1,500, they can't use the missing €500 to make part of their pension tax-free. Now, you might be wondering about social insurance contributions, and this is where you need to pay attention. Contributions to health insurance and long-term care insurance must still be paid because the tax exemption is also intended to strengthen the social insurance funds, according to the Federal Ministry of Finance. So while you're not paying income tax on that €2,000, you're still contributing to the healthcare system and long-term care insurance. Here's something really beneficial. Though the Aktivrente can be combined with pension increases for those who defer their retirement. Those who defer continue to receive a 0.5% increase on their pension per month from the pension insurance. And this can be combined with the Aktivrente. This is actually a smart strategy if you're in good health and enjoy your work. You could simultaneously build up a higher future pension while earning tax-free income in the present. Let's talk about how many people will actually benefit from this program, because the numbers vary quite a bit depending on who you ask. But the German Institute for Economic Research, which is close to labor unions, recently estimated around 230,000 people would benefit. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Finance estimates the number somewhat lower, at around 168,000 people, which is 1/4 of those eligible. Why is there such a difference in these estimates? Well, the majority of new retirees currently don't meet the requirements for the Aktivrente. Only 40% of employees who retired in 2024 had reached the regular retirement age. The rest went into early retirement. This is actually one of the main criticisms of the program, that it targets a relatively small group of people. Speaking of criticism, let us address some of the concerns that experts have raised about the Aktivrente, because not everyone thinks this is a great idea. Opponents of the Aktivrente emphasize that, especially in sectors with labor shortages, physical or mental stress is so high that few people can or want to work longer than until they reach retirement age. Think about construction workers, nurses, or people in physically demanding jobs. Many of these people simply can't continue working, even if the financial incentive is there. There's also uncertainty about employer willingness. It's unclear how many employers will actually employ people of retirement age and potentially accept more sick days. Some companies might be hesitant to hire or keep older workers, even with their valuable experience, due to concerns about health issues and productivity. From an economic perspective, experts at the Institute for German Economy believe the Aktivrente will significantly contribute to increasing the overall work volume in society. The argument is that people who want to work past retirement age are probably going to do so anyway, and now they'll just get a tax break for something they were already planning to do. Economists call this a windfall effect or deadweight loss. There are also concerns about fairness and constitutionality. Researchers question whether the regulation violates the principle of ability to pay, according to which individual groups may not be disadvantaged, and this could happen with an Aktivrente. Why should someone who works at age 67 get a tax break that someone working at age 66 doesn't get? And why should employees get this benefit but not self-employed people? These are legitimate questions that might end up in court. The cost to the government is also substantial. The Federal Ministry of Finance calculates approximately €890 million annually, of which approximately 42.5% each goes to the federal government and the states, and the remaining 15% to the municipalities. That's nearly €1 billion in lost tax revenue every year. Though the federal government hopes that, through a positive effect on economic growth, they can also collect more tax revenue again. Now, let's talk about the practical aspects of how this will actually work. One of the good things about the Aktivrente is that it's designed to be bureaucratically simple. The tax exemption is taken into account directly in the payroll tax deduction procedure, meaning you get more net income immediately, not just through your tax return. This is actually really convenient because you don't have to wait until you file your annual tax return to get the benefit. You'll see it in your monthly paycheck right away. However, you do need to make sure everything is set up correctly with your employer. They need to know that you qualify for the Aktivrente so they can apply the tax exemption properly in their payroll system. And even though the income up to €2,000 monthly is tax-free, it must still be reported on your tax return, but it won't be considered when calculating your tax burden. Here's something really important about the progression clause. Normally, when you have additional income, even if part of it is tax-free, it can increase the tax rate on your other income through something called the progression reservation. But with the Aktivrente, there is no progression reservation for this amount. The tax-free payout doesn't increase the tax rate for the rest of your taxable income. This is actually a significant benefit because it means your pension income won't be taxed at a higher rate just because you're re-earning this additional income. Let's think about this from a different angle. What types of jobs might be good options for people taking advantage of the Aktivrente? The service sector offers numerous opportunities for tax-free work in retirement. And when selecting a suitable job, retirees should pay particular attention to flexible working hours, physical demands, and the possibility of part-time employment. Some popular options include consulting work, where you can leverage decades of experience customer service positions that don't require physical labor, administrative roles that can often be done part-time educational positions, like tutoring or training, and specialized technical roles where experience is highly valued. One interesting development that is happening alongside the Aktivrente is the lifting of what is called the prior employment ban. This makes it easier for employees of retirement age to return to their previous employer, because they can continue working there on a fixed-term basis. Previously, this wasn't allowed without a justifiable reason. So, if you had a good relationship with your employer and they value your contribution, you might be able to negotiate a part-time arrangement that works well for both sides. Now, I want to address something that might be on your mind. What about people who are already working past retirement age? Will they benefit retroactively? Unfortunately, no. If someone only starts working in July, they only use the bonus from July onwards. Unused allowances from previous months expire. So if you're planning to take advantage of this ULL, want to make sure you reset up properly from the beginning of 2026 when the law takes effect. Let us talk about the political context here, because understanding why this is happening now helps explain some of the details. The Aktivrente was actually a campaign promise from the CDU and has been in discussion for quite some time. The CDU has wanted it for a long time, and now it should become reality, with the Union and SPD wanting to create incentives to keep more people in working life longer without mandating it. This is important because raising the retirement age would be extremely unpopular. So instead, the government is trying to incentivize voluntary decisions. The demographic challenge facing Germany is really severe. The baby boomer generation is now reaching retirement age in massive numbers, and there simply aren't enough younger workers to replace them. The pension system, which works on a pay-as-you-go basis, where current workers fund current retirees, is under tremendous strain. The Aktivrente is one piece of a larger puzzle trying to address this, though critics argue it's not nearly enough. Some policy experts have suggested that instead of focusing on people who have already reached retirement age, the government should create incentives for people to work until the regular retirement age instead of taking early retirement. One researcher believes incentives are needed so more people stay in working life until the regular retirement age instead of exiting early. This would probably have a much bigger impact on the overall labor market and pension system. There's also the question of whether the Aktivrente might actually reduce regular employment opportunities. If employers can hire experienced retirees who are willing to work for less because they already receiving a pension, might this crowd out younger workers who need full-time employment? This hasn't been studied extensively yet, but it's a concern some labor unions have raised. Now, what about taxes on your pension itself? This is separate from the Aktivrente, but it's important to understand how it all fits together. Your regular pension is still taxed according to the normal rules. The Aktivrente only creates a tax exemption for the additional employment income you earn. So you're still paying taxes on your pension based on when you retired and what percentage of your pension is taxable. However, the combined effect can be quite favorable. In addition to the Aktivrente, the basic tax-free allowance continues to apply as usual to other income, such as your pension, resulting in a de facto triple allowance of Aktivrente bonus plus basic allowance. When you add everything up, including the basic personal allowance that everyone gets, retirees working under the Aktivrente program will have significantly more tax-free income than regular workers. This brings us to another criticism. Is it fair that working retirees get such favorable tax treatment compared to younger workers doing the same job? Working retirees could have almost twice as much tax-free income as regular employees. Imagine two people working side by side doing the same job. One is 67 and gets €2,000 tax-free plus their pension. The other is 65 and pays full taxes on